Welcome back. We're going to use Forever Fern today to make a card like this. So this one I have used a lot of the colours that feature in the suite, in the designer series paper and stuff. So all the nice fresh greens. So in this particular card I picked out Pretty Peacock, Just Jade and Soft Seafoam. So that's what we've used for that one, and I thought this was sort of this is kind of a spring kind of look, and very in keeping with the suite. But as we're moving into autumn, although the last few days where I am, it's been more like the tropics, really, to be honest. We'll go with an autumn colour palette and use Terracotta Tile, Bumblebee and Calypso Coral. That's what we're going to do. Okay, really lovely stamp set, just the stamp set in use today for that. But we'll also, this funky background, so none of this is designer series paper, this is all stamped or inked. This background uses one of the basic pattern masks, which do get a little overlooked, I think. Don't see many people using them. And again, I haven't got the catalogue page reference handy, because I did wonder, I was flicking through to see where they were in the catalogue, and they are hidden on this page with all the embossing powders and other bits and bobs. And there they are. You get 4 in the packet. Okay, basic pattern decorative masks for a mere £5.50. So not a lot of money. They're 6x6 and they've got some really nice patterns in there. And I picked out this particular pattern because I just thought it was in keeping with the leaf theme that I had going on with my card design and the stamp set that I'm going to use. So all the stamps are already on blocks. These are the ones that I used. These 2 large leaves and then this speckly thing for the panel. But first we're going to ink our background. Just going to pop that out of the way. So one of my usual card layers, which measures 4 by 5 3/4, and I'm going to bring in the mask, which I've already just secured with sort of like a hinge with some washi tape, because it doesn't need to be fastened down per se, but I'm just going to put just the tinsiest amount of seal on the back of this piece of card, place it under the mask, but I want it to be I want it to look central-ish. That's not far off. There we go. That will do. It doesn't have to be centred. I just like things in the middle, generally speaking. And that is a little low on there, so I'm just going to shift it up a little bit. I want the pattern to go all the way to the edge of the paper and not have a... yeah. Then this end bit will just secure that to my desk as well. I'm going to bring in some ink pads then. So on the original one I did sort of darkest to lightest, so I'm going to start with Terracotta Tile. Some scrap. I'm using one of these blending brushes that's trendy at the moment, so just, you do not need a lot of ink at all to get this going. Scrap paper, just taking off a lot of that excess. That's come all the way across. It's probably not as, maybe it is, I don't know. Can you see how it's darker on this side than it is on that side? So I'm taking it across the card in a kind of diagonal. So that was terracotta tile. Then we'll move on to the Calypso. Calypso coral. I'm going dabbing off a good portion of the ink onto some scrap before I come onto my card. Circular motion. Like so. And we're just going to take a little bit across the top of that as well. The more you rub in one area, the heavier the colour will be. So you want to intensify this bit, then you keep the brush over there. Switch to my yellow brush and bring in the bumblebee. Going over a little bit of the previous colour, trying to get that gradient working. And fading that right out to the corner. It'll look like you haven't got anything there, but when you lift the paper, you'll be surprised how much you'll see. So because we've taped the stencil down, or mask I should say, down with this kind of hinge effect and secured the cardstock underneath, I'm able to lift that up and decide whether I want to apply any more ink. Okay, and I actually think I've possibly gone a little too light with my terracotta tile, so I'm going to go back to my terracotta tile and just add a little more to that central portion. Because I can. Okay, so I'm much happier with that result. Just fades away into the yellow, and you see how you could barely see it on the when the mask was down, but you can definitely see the pattern coming through even in that lightest portion in the corner. Okay, so that's the background layer done, and because we only used a little smidgen of that glue, that will just come away, just the slightest amount we needed there. And I'm going to adhere this now to a terracotta tile card base. Card base has been cut in the usual way, 4 1/8 of an inch, scored at 5 7/8 of an inch. That's how I do almost all my card bases. So, okay. And that's ready to go. The panels on this card, I thought they were a little bit too big, so I've cut it down a little bit. So my white piece measures 1 7/8 of an inch by 3 3/8 of an inch, making the terracotta tile layer 2 by 3.5. So that's going to go like so. Okay, so we want to do our stamping on this, and I'm going to keep hold of this scrap paper, I think. one to stamp off. I'm gonna have it this way. So I started with the lightest colour but the largest stamp. So in this case I'm going to go with Bumblebee and this large stamp and put that down to provide the first layer of colour. Probably should have stamped it off first, but we'll go with it. And try and fit it in so I get most of that first layer covered. That will probably do. Okay. Then my medium leaf with my medium colour, which is Calypso Coral. Light tapping over the ink. If you've never stamped before, this is a red rubber on this grey cling mount, and you lightly tap over the ink pad to get your ink over that raised area of the rubber, and that's what gives you your impression. So ink up, light tapping, press down, straight down, press down firmly and lift it off. Well, so this has got a completely different feel to it. Much stronger, bolder colours. The ink just washes off quite easily with water. I use a Stampin chamois, which I'll just show you in a second. Now I wonder how dark this is going to be. I'm going to use, see how I stamp that 3 times? That's using first, second and third generation ink to get some texture to that background, and the ink gets lighter as you take off each layer of ink. So if I use this piece of scrap paper there to show you that, so if I ink it up first, second, third, and you can keep going until it virtually disappears, and that gives you dimension to your stamping. So this is where my stamps end up, off to my side when I'm in the middle of a video, and then I clean them all off after I've finished. But this is a chamois, but it's thicker than the you know, like a car chamois or whatever. I'm just pressing down on that, just gently wiping the stamp. This is just moistened with some water. It's not wringing wet at all. There's no puddles in there. And storing it in a stamp case, or it's like a DVD style case. So it's just damp enough to wipe the stamps. You can see how well I use it. It doesn't carry over. You can wash it in the washing machine if you want. I just get mine really wring it out several times, get all that excess ink out periodically. But it's a brilliant piece of kit for quickly and easily cleaning your stamps. Okay, so that's our little stamped layer, which we can now adhere to this terracotta tile piece. That border nice and straight. Like so. And that's how that's looking at the moment. And some dimensional adhesive. I did a thicker border on the other one. That's so these go to the back, and instead of sticking down flat, it just gives it a little bit of height. So you stick them down and just peel off those backings to reveal more sticky stuff. And then we position this wherever we want, and I think it's going to go a little lower over here. Go over here somewhere, I think. Trying to keep this edge lined up, because if this looks wonky, the whole thing will look wonky. Okay. And then I've got the Hello stamp that I used on the original card. I'm going to use the same terracotta ink. I should use Bumblebee. Bumblebee, see, on the other card my lightest colour wasn't very strong. Bumblebee is actually quite dark, and I think that might lift it slightly. Let's use Bumblebee. And this is just a little 1/2 inch strip of cardstock. Do like that. And for this one, we don't want the big dimensionals are probably a little big, so I'm going to look for a little piece that I can use on the back of that. So all the bits around the edge can be used to adhere things down. So if I use a little bit of this edging strip off, put it at the O end, and just a smidge of adhesive on this end just to keep it in place. So the reason why I'm doing that is because it's going to overlap this raised area, so we don't want any more dimension on this bit, but we want it level, so we're raising this end to make it then level across the card. Didn't add anything else to the other card sample, but I think this one would look really nice with some champagne pearls, not champagne pearls, champagne rhinestones. These are the champagne rhinestones. So just grab this, take your pick tool, of 3 rhinestones like so. Just draws your eye into the middle where that sentiment is. Okay, there we go. So a variation on a theme there. Using the same materials, mixing up the colours, changing up the dimensions slightly, and adding a bit of bling on this one. Okay, hope you've enjoyed that. As always, check out the doobly-doo for all the links to products, what I've used today, details on joining the team as well. We've got a great joining offer on at the moment. You get 2 free stamp sets with your starter kit, plus some cardstock and a packet of rhinestones, the clear rhinestones. Brilliant. I'd love to have you on board, and yeah, and start creating with you. Thanks for joining me today. Take care everybody. Bye.